Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Hey, I thought I'd do a video, kind of like a quick crash course on movement and on accuracy. I mean, really, it's what we all strive for. It's what we all want, is to have the best movement and the best accuracy. So first off, the idea that there is this magic secret sauce for settings, or for technique to get that doesn't really exist. I mean, the truth is that it takes a long time to get down. It takes a long time to master being able to move fluidly with the XIm. I mean, some of you are on controller. It's a whole different story. But when you're moving your mouse with your wrist and your arm, you know, these motions here aren't simple to do. Having that mechanical skill takes time. It takes time to build that muscle memory in order to figure out what you should be doing. Like for example, you know, for me or for most keyboard and mouse players, you basically know how far you need to swipe to be where. And a lot of people who get the XIm, they struggle in that turning around or turning on somebody, like this motion with the arm and with your wrist, or making swipes, really isn't the easiest thing. And so that being said, that takes time and practice. And it's hard to get down really advanced movement unless you have the key fundamentals on how to swipe.
Hostile down.
So, with that being said, with advanced movement,
They're dead.
advanced movement, I mean, there's really kind of two categories, in my opinion. There's like fancy movement, and there's just like advanced movement and higher mechanical skill when pushing the game to really the full potential of its animations, and the full potential of like the mechanics, and like utilizing all those mechanics.
That's a kill.
So, and some of those things we've talked about. And so with that being said, it's like, in my opinion, like, good movement is being able to utilize the sliding mechanic and have good timing with it. As well as like crouch shooting. That's a more advanced, I guess, more advanced movement, if you want to call it that.
Expired.
And so with that being said, those are things that you have to come in here and you have to practice. You have to practice
Hostile down.
Becoming familiar with swiping with your mouse, with building that muscle memory in order to kind of like build the foundation to get advanced movement. Like when I came back to COD after taking years off, my movement was trash. I mean, I really didn't have any movement. Like I could run around the map and I could shoot, but in terms of like utilizing the in-game mechanics, it was kind of foreign to me because I hadn't done it so long. So with that being said, practicing these things, you know, like camera angling, which is basically you're coming here and you're slide canceling around corners. You know, those things take practice.
Enemy removed.
So if we want to talk about more like fancy movement,
I'm calling.
stuff that isn't, you know, that I guess isn't as applicable to like your everyday playing, you know, I would say that, you know, a big thing for a while was like skating. So basically, you're going to slide cancel one way, slide cancel the other way, and the in-game animation from what they see from their perspective is really hard to hit. So, you know, if that's something that you want to get into, that's fine. Like, do I see it as that applicable? No. Is it fun? Yeah, for sure. It's funny too.
Kill.
So there's that.
I'm calling.
But for me, mostly it's making yourself really hard to hit, coupled with good accuracy. And so, what I mean by that is, you have vulnerabilities on the map. Any map you play, you have vulnerabilities. And you know choke points. And so, if you can predict where the enemies are going to be, you know, you want to basically make yourself hard to hit in those areas, and you're going to do that by slide canceling. So, for example,
Enemy removed. Calling it.
like, if there is an enemy coming through here, this is really hard to hit someone. If they're doing that, it's really hard to hit someone. Okay? So that's something that you should always be doing. And centering is basically when you're lined up and your enemies in your crosshair, that means that they're centered. So one way to get centered is to slide and you cancel right when they're centered in front of you. That way it eliminates time
Expired.
that is wasted lining up with them. And that, you know, and that takes practice. But like I said, most people, they don't do that. Most people will, you know, pre-aim a corner here, kind of like pre-ADS, strafe a little bit, and they don't really utilize that.
Enemy removed.
So with that being said,
Wasted that medic.
you know, it's really just understanding the mechanics of the game. Like, some of this stuff applies to every first-person shooter, some more so than others. Like, for example, slide canceling is still really important in Modern Warfare. But, like, this game, like, the difference between good players and bad players, they understand how to get centered by sliding. So there's a lot more to it than that, you know. This is just kind of the long and short of it. So another thing too is kind of just reiterating, you know, your sensitivity is really important in building that muscle memory and understanding what you have to do to navigate your character. So for me, I know what I need to do to turn around, and I play on what's considered a medium sensitivity, which is about a 14-inch 360. And it's really learning how to utilize your arm and your wrist in playing. And it's getting these motions down. So when you come from controller, it's weird because turning around is not the easiest thing. In shooting, like if you're doing a one swipe shot rather than a swipe, then that means you have to shoot in a position that can be different than anything you've done before. And so, for example, if I'm navigating the map and I'm turning around, I won't swipe all the way around. I'll do basically two brief swipes and then recenter on the mouse pad. So learning to basically get recentered in the mouse pad is huge. So a lot of being able to be good with movement, good with accuracy, has to do with learning these mechanics and building that muscle memory. And it takes a lot of time, and it's awkward. When I brought my sensitivity down, whatever, a year and a half ago, I felt like I couldn't even move. And that's what I hear a lot too. You know, if I've given my settings to some people and they're just like, it's too slow, so I up my DPI. Well, it's like, well, you've kind of defeated the whole purpose. And so kind of the next point is when we're talking about ADSing, you know, there's pros and cons, because obviously we're playing with aim assist. So you have if you have a slow ADS speed that's kind of like more sticky, your accuracy is going to be better, but it's going to be harder to switch from target to target. But with enough time and with enough muscle memory, in my opinion, you'll be able to have the best of both worlds. You're going to have an ADS that's sticky and that's really stiff, which doesn't allow for much give when you're aiming down sights, which allows you to be more accurate. And you can also switch from target to target once you kind of get the mechanic down. So again, accuracy is one of those things too that really takes time. It takes a lot of time of shooting bots and playing. You know, I play more multiplayer than I do anything else.
I'm calling it.
And so, you know, after a lot of practice, I've gotten a lot better with my accuracy, but I definitely still have room for improvement, and I have room for improvement with movement too. So I like, you know, the takeaway from this is like, you know, you have to learn fundamentals before you hop on the XIm and you're really able to have really good movement. I mean, that's what we all work for. And so I would suggest really focusing on your mechanics, really building that muscle memory to really help with that. And in time, you'll get there. You know, for me, it's even after playing, you know, thousands of hours on this game, there's still things that I'm working on that I'm noticing improvements. You know, I've played with a lot of really talented people, and some of the things I watch them do, I'm like, wow, like that is really fluid, really smooth, and doing different things in different situations has always caught my eye, but it's really hard to do. And so even now, you know, I'm still learning, I'm still practicing, and you guys will get there. So if there's anything more specific you want me to dive into, I mean, like, there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot to this, and I'm an analytical person, so I've thought about it a lot. And so it's like you have your arm, you have your wrist, you have the way that you hold your mouse, different grip styles. You have your desk, height, your chair height, you have your monitor depth. You have a lot of things that really play into having like an optimal performance, and being able to operate at your best, like in the event you actually care that much. So
I'm calling it.
I hope that's helpful. I know it's kind of broad, you know, but the question when people ask me how do you get better movement or how do you have more advanced movement, it's not really like a clear-cut answer. It's just practice, and it's learning from other people and coming in here and just trying over and over again. So anyway, if there's something like a topic that's, you know, you would like to understand a little bit better, that's more specific, more than happy to cover it.
I'm calling it.
Just let me know. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Take care. We'll catch you on the next.